All right, so the first thing on the agenda then will be the approval of today's agenda for October 12th, 2019, and I would entertain a motion.
So motion.
Thank you, Nancy. Awesome.
I'll second.
All
This is
right.
Dee.
Okay, and thank you. That would be great when you make a motion or a second or, whatever, if you'd maybe just say your name so that way Corey can make sure that he gets it for the minutes. So all those in favor of the approval of the agenda for this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, I didn't anticipate there would be. So the next thing we have is approval of the minutes for August 10th of 2020. We didn't have a meeting in September, so that's why we're approving August this evening. So I would entertain a motion if you were at the meeting to approve the minutes from August 10th of 2020.
This is Dee. I'll move to approve those minutes.
Thank you. Anyone want a second?
This is
Okay, perfect. And if you were in attendance at the meeting, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Anyone opposed or have any changes? All right, we're gonna roll. Perfect. I don't think there's anyone here from the community for any off agenda items that I can see. So we'll proceed to board agenda. I just want to give a shout out to Trace, Chris and Faith and Nancy for being part of our community engagement academy. We had our call, I think it was, I can't even remember, last Wednesday, and I was able to participate for a little bit. So really appreciate Chris and Faith for not only serving on the district advisory board, but also for serving in that group. So we'll look forward to hearing more about it. And if you ever have updates, also if you just ever have any questions or want to grab a cup of coffee or anything, be happy to help in any way. But thank you for your service and wanting to learn more about our great city. Really appreciate your time and effort and energy. So with that, we're going to go ahead and do staff reports. Looks like we have fire here this evening. If you want to go ahead and get started, that'd be great. Oh, and Alicia joined us. Awesome.
All right. Can you hear me? Just
We
checking.
can, yes.
Okay. My name is Justin Canfield. I'm a lieutenant with Wichita Fire Department from Station 9 over at Kellogg and Edgemoor. I'll give you some of the numbers they gave us. In the month of August, we had 14 fire alarms, 48 service alarms, 333 medical alarms, for a total of 395 incidents in the month of August in District 2. Some things going on recently. This is the National Fire Prevention Week. Tomorrow is National Home Fire Drill Day. So we have our CCRD program is doing a lot of virtual stuff this year, putting out a lot of videos for people online to look at. With the weather going to start cooling down, people are going to be firing up heaters. So house fires usually pick up this time of year. So we're being aware of that. And just everybody be aware of changing smoke detector batteries coming up with the time change in the fall. On a kind of good highlight, our last shift, so it was October 9th, we had 2 house fires throughout our shift. We had 2 rescues in one in each of those house fires. Both, I heard this morning that one of the guys from down south actually left the hospital today and was doing good. And then the other one was transported to the hospital Code Red, which is in critical condition, but he was pulled out of the house fire, Code Blue, which is not breathing, no pulse, and they were able to bring him back and at least get a pulse back on him. So I haven't heard how he's doing. Any questions from you guys?
I don't think so. Does anybody from the district advisory board have any questions?
What was the name of you said tomorrow is what?
National Home Fire Drill Day.
And you said there's resources that we could find that you guys have been putting out. I just want to make a post about it, so I would
that's
like to
awesome.
link to something.
Yeah, I've seen them a lot on the Wichita Fire Department Facebook page. That's where I've been seeing them mostly.
Thank you.
You mentioned that there was like 333 medical. Is that is that quite a few from normal?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
You mentioned that you have 333 medical calls, right?
Yeah, last
Can-
the month of August, there were 333 medical alarms.
Is that pretty high or is that pretty traditional?
I would call that pretty normal. A majority of the calls that we actually make are medical alarms. We run along with EMS. There's more fire units, so we can get there faster than EMS. If somebody is critical or not breathing, we can get there in the system quicker.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you, Faith, for helping to share and promote on Facebook. Appreciate it. All right, any other questions? We'll let you go back to your work. Thank you for your service. We appreciate your time this evening and thanks for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Stay safe. Bye-bye. All right, do we have anyone from police? Corey, did you hear?
No, I don't see anyone, and I didn't get any reports either.
Okay, I'll just give you all a quick update. I did have my bi-monthly meeting with Chief Ramsey today and just kind of got some updates. It seems like things in the community right now are pretty calm. I just gave Chief and his awesome team lots of praise for all they've been through for the last few months with everything that we've had, and they're doing well and kind of getting back to a little bit of a normal world for them. So if I hear anything or get any additional information, we'll be sure to let you know. All right, I didn't see anyone from Park and Rec either. Is that correct?
I thought John was going to be here again this month, but no, I don't see him either.
Okay, well, if he joins us a little bit later, we'll pick him up then. All right, Savannah, looks like it's you. Library.
Okay, so we're going to be having several virtual programs happening in October. One is Third Tuesday's book discussion, which is on Tuesday, October 20th from 1 to 2. And they're going to be discussing the popular book, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. We'll also be hosting a business planning for nonprofits virtual program on Saturday, October 24th from 1 to 2:30, which will show the steps needed to plan a successful nonprofit business. And then we'll also be having a Tuesday topics program on Confederate monuments, support, and protest. That's on October 27th from noon to 1. And they're going to be discussing the claims of those who wish to preserve these tributes to their ancestors, as well as those who strive to create a socially just environment for future generations. So all of our programs will be offered in a virtual format using Zoom. And so when someone registers on our website, they'll get an email the day before and the day of the event with login information so that they can attend those. We also have voting and election information on our webpage. We have a resource called Become an Informed Voter that will help people who visit that resource become more informed about how to get involved with the election process, learn about election issues that are current, and then find out who the candidates are for state and federal offices. So if you visit our website, which is wichitalibrary.org, you can learn more about that. You can also look at a sample ballot for the upcoming election, which will have specific information for you so that you can use that information to prepare your voting plan. We are also celebrating Kansas Reads to Preschoolers Month this month, which is an initiative that's aimed at promoting reading to all Kansas children, specifically kids who are birth to age 5. And that's a statewide program. And usually we have parents, librarians, and caregivers who are encouraged to read a single title to their young readers. And this year's selected book is Groovy Joe, Ice Cream and Dinosaurs. So we'll have more information about virtual programs and online activities on the library's website. Any questions for me?
I don't think so, not for me. Any questions from the district advisory board members? Thank you for all you do. We really appreciate it. And I know this has been a challenging time for sure for libraries. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, Savannah. See you next month. Maybe in person. Maybe in
Yeah,
person. I miss coming to see you. All right. Next, we have once a quarter. If you remember, we have Public Works and Utility Report. I do get to meet with Public Works once a month and get reports, and they come to us once a quarter. So, Gary, it's all you.
Thank you. That was good timing. I was just speaking to the Bike Ped Advisory Board,
Ah,
and I literally just got done, so that worked out well. Corey, do you happen to have the project list I sent you? Could you share that maybe? We had set this year up to talk to the DAB to the first month of each quarter, which would have been July, and there was no meeting thanks to this pesky pandemic. And so nobody's heard from us for a while, and that probably didn't bother anybody, but I'll try to be as thorough as I can on catching up with things. So I guess I probably should have had this so I had control of it, Corey. That's okay. I'll tell you when to scan down.
Here, I can make you co-host or give you control somehow. Hold on.
Or I can just tell you when to scan down.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. That's fine.
So East Kellogg, still a lot going on and coming along pretty well. Kellogg and Webb, there's actually two separate projects out there, and I know it's never really looked like it, but we did start Kellogg and Webb interchange work first, and it is winding down. Basically, everything's done except for the landscaping, and that's almost all done. If you've had a chance to see on the four corners at Webb, kind of up top there, we've got some really cool landscaping on the four corners. A lot of it, it's kind of not necessarily in season. We'll have some things that'll finish up next spring. And when things green up, it's going to look really, really nice. So we do have the freeway back open to 60 mile an hour, at least for a little bit there, through the Webb interchange until you hit construction again at Greenwood. So we're winding things down there. If you can go on down, Corey. The Greenwich project, which extends out to 127th Street, we're mostly focused on the east end. So we've got what we ended up doing with that project, and it was kind of late in the game, but KTA came to the table and added some funding as well as KDOT. If you've driven out there now, and if you're on the frontage road, the south frontage road going east, you know that you can get on the turnpike back to the south, which is kind of cool. There's also a connection over to 127th Street. That connection is eastbound only right now. Here pretty soon, that's going to be westbound also. And so that'll be really cool for people who have been kind of landlocked out on 127th for a long time, having to drive all the way around. They'll be able to come back west to Kellogg and Zelta. One of the other ramps that we're adding, two of the other ramps we're adding connections to the turnpike that you can see now is from the southbound turnpike to westbound Kellogg. So if you get on the turnpike now and you're coming from the north, once you get to that point, you can see that new ramp taking shape. The other one is eastbound Kellogg to northbound turnpike. It's going to be a big loop ramp that's taking shape out there by 127th. You can see they're doing a lot of dirt work out there. So one of the goals was to make more connections at that interchange. So all of that is coming along really good. If you can scan down just a little bit, Corey. And when I talked about that westbound connection from 127th, that should be open very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We're planning on, that says estimated completion is late next year. Greenwich interchange itself will be done late this year. I think all of that work around the turnpike will be done by next summer. Keep our fingers crossed. One of the things that people ask a lot about is southbound K96 to westbound Kellogg has been closed since we started the project, and it will remain closed. One of the last things to open up. We have to get all that ramp work done, tying into the turnpike and from the turnpike where we can open that back up. So it could still be next summer. But the project's coming along really well. If you're ever out there at night, make sure I think everybody's probably seen the LED lights that we have under web. We've got LED lights on the sides of the bridges at Zelta and Greenwich. Greenwich is not running just yet, but the LED lights at Zelta that are behind the cut steel on the sides of the bridge looks really, really cool. If you haven't seen that, you got to try to get out that way sometime and see it. It looks awesome. So really cool aesthetics added to that. So I don't think I had anything else added there. I've got something I'll talk about on potentially going further east on Kellogg when we get to the bottom of the list. Redbud Path from K96 to 159th Street's coming along well. We hope to wrap up by the end of the year. Just to reiterate real quick on that, that path, most of our improved pathways are concrete for durability and long-term service. It's really worth the cost. We had a lot of public engagement on this project prior to even going to design, and from a lot of the adjacent property owners, a lot of the users from the bike and running communities. And one thing they talked about was there are a lot of people that did not want just that hard paved surface. So this is a first for us that we're building a multi-use path that's going to be 14 feet wide. It'll be 9 feet of concrete and 5 feet of improved rock. And I'm kind of excited to get this done and see the idea being that hopefully the 9 foot of multi-use is still enough room for the bikers that want to use a hard surface, for the walkers, the people pushing strollers, whatever it might be. The 5 feet of rock would be for mountain bikers, runners, things like that. So we're excited to see how this works. Going to introduce some additional challenges from a maintenance perspective, but we should wrap this up in December. It's looking really cool. We had a lot of work to do on drainage structures and bridges, and that took a lot of work up front, as well as some utility work west of 127th. That's all done now. But what this will do is connect, Andover's got an improved path going east of 159th. From the perspective for the Redbud, we had previously improved up to Woodlawn. Within our CIP, we've got funding to improve from Woodlawn to Rock in 2024. And that really just leaves us with unimproved sections between Rock and K96, which we don't have plans for just yet. People are still using it, if you're familiar with it, using the old railroad bed, and that's fine. So, but this is a cool project, and we're excited to be getting done late this year. Corey, if you can go on down, as part of the phase 1 of the aquatic master plan, Austin Park splash pad improvements are underway. That work will be done early next year to be open for the 2021 season. Go on to the next page. And I'll talk more about the other aquatics master plan projects here in just a minute. We've got a project in our capital improvement program for walking path repairs. And for District 2, that's in Eastview, Harrison, Boston, and West Cessna Parks that are underway. I might just mention something real quick that I've talked to everybody about before, about how we come about building projects, and it's a variety of things. Even with a bunch of engineers sitting around a table with planners and using a bunch of data, we try to come up with the best places to utilize our resources. Things like walking path repairs in parks are pretty self-explanatory. We do that on a basis of evaluation of the current state of repair, what needs maintenance, and not necessarily new improvements. So the reason why I mentioned that, and Councilmember Tuttle will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was at Eastview Park. We had a citizen contact us the other day. We had just made the walking path repairs, and her son is in a wheelchair, and they were out there, and we had made some improvements for ADA access from the parking lot. But if you followed the pass system around and came back to the other side of the parking lot, there was no ramp. And to get to a ramp, they would have had to literally gone all the way back around from where they started. So we, on the fly, came up with a resolve pretty quick to just add a little bit of connection between those sidewalks to get back to where they started. She was happy. I mentioned that because we always are looking for input. If somebody has something they've seen, what I would tell you is don't ever assume that we know and we're going to do it, because it really just took her calling. It's not going to cost much. It's something we would have done anyway. And it was a great resolve in a real hurry after that request came into Councilmember Tuttle. So anyway, after boring you with that, we can move on.
And it's always just Becky.
Yeah, Becky, sorry. Go on then to pavement preservation. We've talked before about our outsourced pavement preservation within our CIP. We have about $10 million a year. That money is allocated across all 6 council districts almost evenly. It's based on the size of the districts, but it ends up being almost the same. And we have a 40-year model that looks at our best return on investment. I won't bore you with all of that right now, but we've got a really good program in place. That funding is continuing to increase right now in the capital improvement program every year. And I think in 2030, which is the end of our current CIP, it's all the way up to $20 million a year, which is a good thing. We are winding down the 2020 program. The 2021 program is being presented to the City Council a week from tomorrow on October 20th. And then so the next time we meet with everybody, we'll have 2021 projects on here. I can't tell you what all is in there from District 2 because I just don't know, but we'll have that on here soon. What's the primary focus right now is crack sealing on many of the arterial street projects. It's a process that's low cost. It's a very high return on investment because especially with the climates we live in, and you get moisture in existing pavement cracks, and then you start to get cold temperatures and you get freeze thaw effects that opens up the cracks more, and that's when you start getting spalling and giant potholes and pavement falling apart. So I think with the funding we've got, we're doing a pretty good job. Corey, if you can scan down a little bit more. We had a lot of other work in the 2020 program that's already done that I think we did a really good job on. We've got some work out at Jackson Heights that Troy Palmer actually contacted me about earlier today that we just bid the project on that's going to get started here in a couple of weeks. So that's some needed work that'll get done. So 2021 information is coming soon. All right, Corey, going on to the next page.
Can I ask you a question before you move on?
Yeah, please do.
If you scroll back up, Corey, on the streets, I saw on Woodlawn it has Harry to Lincoln complete. Do you know why they didn't do Woodlawn all the way to Kellogg?
No, but I can find out.
Okay, because I live at Lincoln and Woodlawn, and Harry to Lincoln is great, but Lincoln to Woodlawn or Lincoln to Kellogg on Woodlawn is a disaster. So that's why I wonder why they stopped at Lincoln and didn't finish it to Kellogg. But just curious.
I don't know, but I'll certainly find out. Our maintenance engineer is the keeper of our model, and it uses data analytics and literally looks at the current condition of every single street section in this town. We've got almost 5,300 lane miles of streets. And so what happens is if you look at I know there's always got to be a place to stop. We get this call quite a bit. And based on our model, which I think is really reliable based on how we evaluate the pavement, it very well could be that section is in 2021, but I will find out.
Just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking again. We've even with what we think is a great plan, I know is a great model, sometimes we've still missed some, and it's helpful for someone to ask. So I wanted to mention real quick on the overall aquatics master plan, provided $22 million in funding for 12 facilities across the city. We talked about Boston Park splash pad, which you can see in phase 1B splash pads as part of phase 1 is underway. We've got 3 pools underway for phase 1 and then 2 other splash pads for phase 1, all under construction, all that'll be open next summer. Phase 2, we've opened bids on improved harvest and municipal pools and Linwood splash pad. And that work will all be done also for the 2021 season. There's funding in the CIP for phase 3, which is College Hill Pool, Harrison and Plainview splash pads. Those will be open for the 2022 season. So we're really excited to get these, the majority of these open in 2021. Everybody keep your fingers crossed that COVID is long gone, or at least we can open up these facilities in 2021. So that's been a really long time coming. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into it, especially our council members, in getting that done. Corey, you might go on down. I've got some items here that we discussed with Councilmember Tuttle that I'll go ahead and mention a couple of them here. We have looked at the intersection of Pawnee and 127th previously. I assume everybody's kind of aware with Southeast High School being on the southwest corner. If school were in session full time and when it is back in, there's a lot of stresses on that intersection in the morning and afternoon. That is not unlike what we see at other schools around the city, especially with the size of Wichita schools. However, looking long term, we think we can do some things to make some improvements there. We actually recommended from an engineering standpoint looking at building a roundabout there, because one of the things that roundabouts do is they work really well during high peak times to help with that, and where you don't need something like a traffic signal during other times of the day. They can accommodate school buses. There was an issue kind of came up with future development in the area and how well that might work. So we said we'll set and kind of wait. We were planning to wait for the end of this previous school year to evaluate it, and that got completely blown up. So I've just changed the note to say we're going to wait till post-pandemic and see what it looks like. So there could be more to come there. The last thing I wanted to mention was Pawnee Webb to Greenwich. We are wrapping up design to improve that to a 3-lane section with sidewalks. That will be under construction next spring. We had a request for sidewalk on 127th. That funding in the CIP, that's from Central to 13th, is not available till 2023, but we'll plan on that then. If you haven't had a chance to be out to see Stryker, it is really, really cool. And the pandemic kind of threw a wrench in things at Stryker too, but we did some pretty cool stuff with $22 million in STAR bond funding out there. There's 112,000 square foot indoor facility, all new outdoor fields. It looks really awesome. Even if you're not one who would use the facility or have kids that do, it is really, really cool. And it has become a huge focus, from my understanding, talking to our operator and others, being kind of as a point between Kansas City and Oklahoma City where people might be able to come meet in the middle for some pretty big tournaments. Capen's got all of their high school football games out there. There's a lot happening. We want to recognize and acknowledge all of that. We were planning to have a big dedication ceremony, but again, the pandemic got in the way. So we will still get to that. Corey, you might go on down because there is one item at the end I want to talk about. I think I can skip Corporate Hills. I'll talk a little bit, stay right there on the KDOT's new transportation and the Eisenhower transportation plan, but they rolled out over the last 6 months. And some of this is still pending, obviously, on what's going on with our world and our economy. But so far, KDOT has said that motor fuel taxes and even sales tax revenues are exceeding budgets, which is a great thing. So hopefully we can hang on. The new plan is approximately $9 billion over 10 years. It's a rolling plan where they evaluate projects every 2 years. So the first part of the rolling plan included the North Junction, which I'll talk about more in just a minute, because this does affect a lot of people citywide. The plan, the initial plan, does include a project to improve K96 from 135 to Greenwich. That's currently 2 lanes in each direction, and it's pretty loaded during the peak hours. The North Junction improvements will help some of that, but this project would improve that to 6 lanes. 3 lanes in each direction, and be approximately $225 million project. I would suspect we wouldn't see construction for 5 or 6 years, but it's really good to have that one in the pipeline. I think we have a good chance to look at continuing improvements on East Kellogg in the next part of this program, which would happen in the next year to year and a half. I actually have a meeting with KDOT and KTA coming up soon to talk about that. The last thing I'll mention is the North Junction itself. We were awarded what's called a build grant from the US DOT just in the last 3 or 4 weeks for $21 million.
Yay!
Really big deal in making this project work. It's fairly prestigious and doesn't happen often. This is the first time Wichita's gotten a grant like this for transportation. There were 670 applications from across the country for these grants, a request of over $9 billion. There was only 10% of the projects, around 60 were awarded. grants for a total of $1 billion. So there was a tremendous effort that went into this on a lot of levels with our council members and the county and everybody working with our legislative delegation in DC. So that grant money really closed the gap of funding. KDOT's got a commitment. City of Wichita and Sedgwick County have got a commitment. So right now the gold phase of the North Junction is fully funded. The first phase will start next spring. The balance of it will follow in late 2022. Probably take 5 years from now for full build out, but we are going to fix all of the problems up there. So that's pretty exciting. And I tell everybody who wants to hear that about that because it affects all of us. I think that's all I've got. Becky, if anybody's got any other questions.
Not really a question, but just a comment. But Gary mentioned the Eastview Park. Gary and Corey, I think you would concur with me that public works and streets are what I get the most calls and issues about. And, you know, we had somebody who was concerned that the crosswalks weren't painted well enough at 13th and Webb. And so just by chance got on the list and they got taken care of within a couple of weeks. So with people out walking and biking more, that was great. So if you have questions, you have concerns, you know, we can't always do things quickly, but if we don't know about it, we can't do anything. So, you know, let us know what you're hearing and what your thoughts and concerns are, and we'll see what happens. And congratulations again on $21 million. Woo!
Yay.
Yes.
When
thank
we
you.
all get together, we will go celebrate together. I promise.
Yes.
Can I ask a question? This
Please.
is Nancy. Gary, you mentioned the Red Bed Trail between Rock and Woodlawn. 2024 is when it's scheduled to get done. Do you know if they're going to do kind of like a crosswalk what they did at Woodlawn? Safety, because Rock is so busy and crossing right there is, I would say, treacherous in any way. So is that part of the plan?
It is. I can't tell you for sure what will happen, but there's no doubt as part of the plan, we'll figure out some safe way to get across there. If you happen to, if you go back to Woodlawn and we have what's called that rapid flash beacon, that light that flashes, it's not the safest with the amount of traffic we have on Rock. I think we would have to look at more of a regular type signal, possibly, get people's attention, because the amount of traffic we have on Rock, and as wide as it is, it'll be a little bit risky to try to utilize that type of crossing. That will be part of the project, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
This is Dee. I don't have a specific question for Gary, but I do want to ask if this could be shared out with the members of the DAB. There are a lot of things on here that I think my HOA would be interested in, and I'd like to be able to pull things off. I wasn't able to take all the notes today.
It's fine by me.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're talking about that list, there's nothing on there that I have no problem. If there's ever any questions, anybody can contact me and or I'll send them to staff, but that's information we talk to council members about each month, and there's nothing proprietary on there as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you.
And
Hey,
if you all-
Gary, I got a comment. I know all you do is sit down there in the city receiving, compliments all day long, right? But
Yeah.
I do want publicly tell you, and then for the other DAB members to hear, and the industry I'm in, and so oftentimes when you're doing very large, complicated projects, the first thing to get value engineered out is the cool stuff, because you got the structural and the functional. So I did want to say kudos to you and your staff and everybody that's worked on that Kellogg project to keep that thing in line, to be able to leave the cool. Because I did the other night go from Rock Road to Lowe's, and man, the decorative metal and the LED color changing lights, is really cool. And it's nice to see that we were able to keep that stuff in those projects, because I know, like I say, that's usually the first to get pulled out. So
Yeah,
good
I
job to all
appreciate
you
that.
guys.
It's going to be a really good gateway. I appreciate that. Steve, are you part of the district advisory board now?
Yeah, I didn't put you down as as a character.
I was going to say, Becky, we ought to talk about upping your qualifications for people
Right.
to get on.
Right. I will just add what Steve said. Oh gosh, it was before COVID. It was probably last fall, but I was meeting a friend at the Marriott. They were staying there, and one of his colleagues was joining from Canada. And so they literally just went from the airport down Kellogg, got off at the Corporate Hills Drive Marriott, and we met. And his friend from Canada said, "Are all of the roads and streets in Wichita as cool as this?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course they are, right?" But I mean, he was so impressed with it. And I know that when even the design council, as far as the art component of it, is something that artists across our community are really excited about. When we think of art, it's not just something you hang on a wall or a statue you put on a table. It's the aesthetics of the entire community, so it matters, and it's just done exceptionally well. Any other accolades or questions?
Becky, there was a question from Tracy on the chat that I don't mind answering.
Yeah, please. I didn't see it. Thank you.
It said, why is it illegal to turn left at Broadway and Douglas going northbound? And I'm glad you asked that, because I've actually been discussing this with my staff lately. So we're in the middle of a big endeavor to evaluate the streets downtown. Our transit, Mike Tan and Scott Wadle, and Scott's still a part of it, even though he's our planning director now, are looking at that. And we've got a really good consultant on board, and we'll be making recommendations to the council soon. There's an open survey right now to the public, but kind of looking at the disposition of all the streets in the core area for the future, and maybe how many one-way streets stay as one-way, if they go to two-way, what parking looks like, what bike and pedestrian access looks like. And so I think in the future, you're going to see some changes like that. Right now, I can tell you, just from a pure traffic perspective, why that's been that way for some time is because Broadway is a 4-lane roadway. And when we were more, over quite a few years, more traffic centric, more vehicle car centric in our focus, trying to get people in and out of downtown, through downtown, past downtown. That's one of the, in my mind, I'm not a planner, why downtown struggled for a while, because we weren't trying to keep people down there. We were trying to get them through and out. With the 4-lane roadway, the traffic counts through Broadway are pretty significant. And so the idea was, don't let anybody turn left there, because without having a dedicated turn lane, if you get 1 or 2 people and they're wanting to turn left, you're going to back traffic up through those short blocks and through the signal at William, and you start creating other problems. And I know that's a long, boring engineering answer, but it's specifically set up to be able to keep Broadway traffic moving and to not back anybody up making turns. So there's other streets you can make turns on. If you're not aware of which ones there are, you're kind of in trouble. But over time, you start to figure out that you can do that at Main or Market. So that's the primary reason. I'm not saying that it's still that way for the right reason, because I've actually asked our traffic engineer to look at that and see if we shouldn't consider doing something with the signals. We've got a project going on right now to try to optimize the signals on Douglas from Main, or from McLean to Washington, 13 signals through there. In fact, it goes a little farther east than that. And with that, we're going to be looking at this in particular to see if we should do something different on the timing of the signal. So long answer is, I appreciate you bringing it up. We are looking at it. It was there historically to try to keep Broadway traffic flowing better. I don't think it's going to stay that way for the long term.
Great. And I see Lonnie joined us. So Lonnie, any questions you want to grill Gary on before we let him go?
No, I'm just so pleased we do have Gary. He can go to every district and he knows what's going on. So I appreciate Gary.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Lonnie. I appreciate that.
All right. Any other questions for the good of the group? Thank you, Gary. We appreciate you being here this evening. Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, folks, we have one little problem. Did you get a hold of him, Corey?
I did not, but just added to the meeting with Scott's iPhone.
Hello.
Hey, Scott.
That is Mr. Whale, isn't it?
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
Okay, sorry about that snafu. Okay, well, I am here and I've got the staff report in front of me.
Okay. So we're going to go on to new business. It's item number 9. And we have Scott Wadle, who is our new director of planning. So congratulations, Scott. And Dave must have had a snafu. That's okay. We'll do the best we can to make it work. So Scott, wow us.
Well, I'll do my best, but thank you so much for being so understanding. And I do apologize that he's not here tonight.
Okay.
Well, the case before you, and I just want to make sure everyone's got the staff report and everything in front of them. Okay, so we're just going to go through that. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Corey. So this is for zoning case 2020-35. The requested zoning is GC, general commercial. Currently, the site is zoned LC, limited commercial. This location, if you look at the map, you may be familiar with it as the Pep Boys at one time, and most recently acquired for a tire shop. The thing about the location that's also a little bit unique that I'll point out as we were looking at the map is that you may be familiar with this from driving by, but the Kellogg frontage road, then that goes down into Cypress, and just that the access is a little bit different there, but just something to be aware of. So in terms of background, the property is again zoned LC. They're requesting to have it rezoned to GC in order to establish a vehicle sales facility. It's again the former Bosley tire facility, and yes, it was reduced in size because a portion of the property was acquired as part of the improvements that were done on Kellogg, along with the turnpike there. The surrounding properties, quite a few of them are GC. So to the west, GC, which is currently there's quite some dealerships in that location. The south, LC and vacant. North is Kellogg, and then in land zoned LC, again, but owned by the city of Wichita. There's information about the case history, not much there. Again, we talked about the nearby zoning. Public services has all the public services, but also highlighting the Kellogg Drive, which is one-way eastbound. Conformance to the plans identified in the comprehensive plan as new employment. So we feel like GC is appropriate in that location. So the recommendation and the findings for why is that we find that it's consistent with the land uses and zonings that are in the area. Number 2, the property is currently zoned LC, but given its location, given the characteristics of the site, it's appropriate for GC, extent to which removal of restrictions will detrimentally affect nearby properties. Again, it's in an area that has a lot of GC in it, and LC. Length of time that it's been vacant or as currently zoned. Well, there's a proposed use right now on the table should the zoning go through. So we feel like that's appropriate. And number 5, conformance to the adopted plans. Again, it's identified for employment in the comprehensive plan. And so we feel like that's appropriate. Number 6, impact to proposed development on community facilities. It's an area that's served by community facilities. All utilities are available, so we don't really see an adverse impact with that. Next page is then just the aerial of the site. You can see there that the north end, which has been acquired, was acquired again by the city as part of the work. So you can see the area in red, of course, is where the rezoning is proposed. You can see the car dealership existing to immediately to the west, and you can see the vacant property to the south. If we scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the map of the zoning. And again, quite a bit of LC is in red. GC is shown in the pink. And then if we scroll down one more, page, you will see the map show from the comprehensive plan showing new employment. It's a darker brown color. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
And Scott, before we get any questions, I'll just make 2 quick comments. I haven't heard any concerns from the community, so no one's reached out to us about this. And I went and drove there Thursday, I think it was, of last week, and just to check it out, and looks like a pretty normal transition, if you will, from, so from LC to GC. So does anybody have any questions for Scott?
Yeah, this is Chris. How big, when on something like this, when it's commercial, how big is the notification area?
So the notification area, good question. Notification area in the city of Wichita is 200 feet. And we don't have a map attached as part of this packet, but 200 feet, I could get on GIS and show you, but it would take it'd take a little bit of time.
And that's fine. I don't need the details. Just curious, like in general, highways to the north, vacant to the south and east, and then really just another car lot to the west. Looks like 200 feet is probably just that one other company in general.
I would say
Yeah.
so. Yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
you bet.
Good question. Anybody else? I would always entertain a motion if anyone from the District Advisory Board was so inclined.
Hey, Becky, this is Tracy.
Hey, Tracy.
I move that we approve.
Thank you. A second?
A second, Faith
Good.
Martin.
Okay.
It's
Faith,
Chris.
Chris, Sam, everybody wants to second it. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Awesome. Thank you, Scott, for filling in at the last minute. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for being so patient with us. Thank you,
Yep.
everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, Scott. Take care.
Bye.
All right. If there's nothing else for the good of the order, I would entertain a motion to adjourn for this month.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Sam. You get in there, Sam. You do it. How about a second?
I second.
Okay. Thank you,
This is
Tracy.
Tracy.
Awesome.
Sam, we
and-
could always depend on you to adjourn us.
I know, right? Take us to the end. And no discussion, but just a quick reminder, our next district advisory board will be Monday, November 9th, before we take the vote. So just to make sure we get that on your calendar, we'll get the packet out to you beforehand. And thank you everyone for your service. And with that, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, you can just stay on. Thank you, Corey, for everything. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you soon.
Stay healthy.
Take care. Bye-bye.